to sociolinguistics is that I speak English, and it connects me to the rest of the world. So this is why I am here now speaking to you, because I speak English, but this is why I managed to travel to several countries in the world and made many friends. So it's very important that I speak English, and we call it lingua franca. Probably you heard this term before. Lingua franca is usually a language which connects different nations. Okay. So today, as I already mentioned, I'm connected to that topic personally, but I'm also interested in the topic as a scholar. And I will talk about language and society in a nutshell, just briefly, because it's, as you know, it's a huge topic. You probably learn it for a whole semester. So I'll just touch upon a couple of topics connected to the language and society. So the first question is, just take a few moments and try to imagine the world and humankind without language. Like, how would our society look like, or would it be possible to have a society at all? Probably humankind could find some means of communication, like with hand gestures or with nods, or with other types of communication, but without language, I think it is not possible to develop and create such a complex society as we have at the moment, with different layers, with different classes, with different nations. So it's very important in the history of humankind that we develop language, because language is closely connected to society. Language, I would dare to say, defines society. It is what language organizes society. So with language, we can say that this is a lower class at the society. This is a higher class of the society. So it is closely connected to society, and the arrow points to the other direction as well, because society also affects, society also influences language. If you belong to a lower class, then you speak a different kind of language. If you are a young person, you use a different type of language as compared to older people. Or if you live in a different nation, you speak a different kind of language. So society and language are related in many ways. And there is a discipline that studies the connection between language and society. It is called sociolinguistics. So it studies communities and contexts that uses a language. So sociolinguistics investigates the relationship between language and society, with the goal being a better understanding of the structure of the language. So we want to understand how your language, like let's say Bungones or Javanese, is different from Bahasa Indonesian, or how many English words you use in Bahasa Indonesian, how often you switch between languages, and how language functions in communication. So this is, in a nutshell, what sociolinguistics is interested in. So the main focus of sociolinguistics is the relationship between language and society. Okay, before we go to the next slide, there are two main terms in this talk, in this lecture, that we should talk about. One is language and the other is society. Unfortunately, I cannot give you a definition of language, because linguistics doesn't have a definition of language. Language has several characteristics. Of course, when we communicate, we use other means of communication. For example, we communicate with our eyes, we communicate our body posture, we communicate with hand gestures or our smiles. etc., etc. So language is only one means or one tool for communication. Language is very complex. Language is very creative and very spontaneous. So you can say new sentences every day. You do not repeat yourself all the time. So language makes humans special, because none of the communication systems in the, for example, animal world, dolphins or monkeys, are similar to language. So language is very complex, but we have no definition of that. And what is society? When we talk about society, then we, in terms of sociolinguistics, we refer to two or three main things. This is, society includes people, place, and social system. So when we talk about society, it's complex. So we break it down to three different issues. So language is related to society. That is, language is related to people. So we talk about the connection between language and people, language and place, and language and social system. When we talk about language and age, to get it closer to you, then sociolinguistics is interested in the language use of different ages, like how adolescents, how youngsters use different styles compared to old people, what kind of slangs, even memes, or all kinds of funny, like computer-mediated communication, for example, what kind of language you use on Facebook, on the internet, as compared to older people. It's also interested in how genders use language, different ways or similar ways. For a very long time, society divided males and females, and they also used a different type of language, which is still the case in many countries. So, for example, I'm sure you already covered this topic with Professor Octavia, but and you can also see it in your society that women tend to apologize more. For example, they are interrupted more. They use more standard language, for example. So there is a difference. Males or boys, men are more assertive. They are, for them, it's easier to tell their opinion. And I don't know how it works in Indonesia, but in most of Europe, this is how the gender differences work in the society. Then it's also related to race. Of course, it's related to nationality and different social classes, especially in English. The pronunciation of R is different in different social classes. So when someone speaks, you can identify the social class of a person by the language he uses. For example, if I use Hungarian and I'm very tired, then people will recognize that my native language is a dialect. So I don't speak standard Hungarian when I'm tired or when I'm with my family. Or the same with English. When you are tired, then they will recognize that you are not a native speaker because you cannot really pay attention to the pronunciation. Okay, so language and place, how they are related. Different languages are used in different regions, and I think Indonesia is a perfect example of how language is distributed according to region. You have Javanese, and you have other dialects, you have other languages in different regions. So where you are born, it also defines what kind of language will be your mother tongue and what other language you need to acquire later. And language is also related to occasion. So when I'm at a lecture, like now, I use a different kind of language when compared to when I talk to my friends or to my partner or to my colleagues. Or, for example, there is a new American president in the US called Biden. And if you listen to his inauguration speech, it was a special occasion, and he used very special language, very special accent, very special expressions. It was very, very convincing, motivating, and persuasive. And because he prepared it for an occasion. And of course, you also speak differently when you speak to your friends or when you are at the university or at an exam, for example. Then language is also connected to social system, power, very important. You talk differently to an authority, to a police, than to your mom. Then ideology and policy are also very important. Some countries, especially here in Europe, build their nations through the language. For example, if you have France, then the French language is very important. They build their nation through the French language. So they have a nationalistic ideology, and they only protect the French language, and they don't care about minorities. And another important point here is politeness. There are huge differences in different nations in terms of how they use polite language. I will come back to this because Diana had a research on this, and it turned out that Indonesians are very polite. Okay, so sociolinguistics, sociolinguists are interested in explaining why we speak differently in different social contexts. Why do you speak differently to your friends than to your professors? What are the social functions of language? And how language is used to convey social meaning. I will give you a very simple example to show or to demonstrate how many or how much information can we see from simple conversations. Like, let's imagine that this is Greg. This is an ordinary American boy, and Greg is a kid who likes to talk. Greg talks when he's upset. Greg talks when he's happy, when he's sad, when he's tired, when he's energized. So Greg talks to his mother, saying, "Hi, Mom. Hi, you are late. Yeah, the bastard Sud Bucket kept us in again. Ah, Nana's here. Oh, sorry. Where is she? Okay, so look at the language. Hi, Mom. Yeah, that bastard Sud Bucket kept us in again." So this is a story that he was kept in the school by some teacher. Then the same story shared with the principal of the headmaster of the school. "Good afternoon, sir." Principal says, "What are you doing here at this time?" "Mr. Sutton kept us in, sir." You can see it's a lot more polite. And so if you look at the two examples, sharing the same story by the same boy, we can learn many things from the language used in the social context. So if you look at the address, hi, good afternoon, Mom, sir, then yeah, that bastard Sud Bucket, who is actually called Mr. Sutton, and different languages used in different social contexts. So there is a different greeting Greg used, hi versus good afternoon. The address to these people was different, Mom versus sir. How he referred to the teacher, that bastard Sud Bucket versus Mr. Sutton, and referring to the event, kept us in again or kept us in. So if you follow people in the society, then you can learn a lot from their language use. So the clues we can get from the speech is the relationship with the mother. From the speech, we can see that it's very intimate and friendly, while with the relationship with the principal is formal, distant, and respectful. right? So we use different expressions in different contexts, and linguistic variation can provide social information. So next time you have to wait somewhere, just listen to people, how they speak to others, and then you can learn a lot from their relationship with the other person. The different ways we say things can be inferred from the pronunciation of the word, what kind of words we use. So you can also analyze the words, what kind of grammar we use, what kind of dialect we use, and even what kind of language we use. For example, yeah, I forgot my example, sorry. Okay, so sociolinguists use the term variety. See, variety, or probably in the literature and in the classes, you used it as a code. And they use the term variety to refer to language in context. So when you speak, you use a variety of the language, either the standard or the non-standard or something. So what is a variety? A variety is a set of linguistic forms used under specific social circumstances, for example, with a distinctive social distribution. Oops. So a variety is again a complex concept, a complex term, a complex word. So it includes, what is a variety? Different accents. For example, you have American English, you have Jamaican English, you have Australian English, British English, London English, and you have different accents in Indonesian as well, I'm sure. And the variety also includes different linguistic styles, whether it is literary, poetic, so different genres, formal, informal, etc. Or different dialects that you use in your country or in your repertoire, or different languages that you use. I'm sure most of you use 3 languages in your everyday life: Bahasa Indonesian, your own language, which is for most of you, as I was told, Bungonas, and you also use English. So you are multilingual there. And you use different varieties, which contrast with each other for social reasons. So, of course, you use these languages that I just listed in different contexts. And you use it for several reasons. What are these social factors that account for the particular variety use? So why do you use one variety in one context and the other variety in the other context? Because of the participants. For example, with me, you can only use English because I don't speak the rest of your languages. With Miss Octavia, I guess you can use at least 2 of your varieties. With your family, you can use your own variety, what you learned at home. Or the setting or social context of the interaction. So where you speak. If you go to the bank, or if you go to I don't know, authority somewhere, you use the standard language, I guess. The topic is also important. So, for example, when you talk about language and society, this is something you learned in English, and it's easier to talk about in English. And the function, why are you using that kind of language? Okay, so when we talk about language and society, we usually talk about different types of speech communities. I already mentioned minorities and majorities. Like here in Hungary, Hungarians are in a majority, but there are some minorities as well. We have Chinese living here, we have some Indonesian people living here, we have Ukrainians, Greek, Germans, etc. So there is a minority majority distribution, but the official language is Hungarian. So everyone who wants to live here for a longer period of time has to learn Hungarian, which is a one language, one nation kind of ideology. So, but it's not a good ideology because, as we know, the word is multilingual. why am I so confident to say this? Because there are 7,117 languages in the world. Okay, so 7,117 languages in the world and only 192 countries. So there are much more languages than countries. So if you make the mathematics, then you realize that if the languages would divide evenly, then there would be 37 languages in one country. But of course, languages are not evenly distributed, but still, most countries in the world are bilingual or multilingual. So there are people who live in minority circumstances. I already said that the languages are not spread evenly in the world, which means that 94% of the world's population speaks only a few languages. That is, Mandarin Chinese is spoken by many people because of the number of Chinese people. Spanish is spoken by many people. English is the third language. Then some languages come from India, the Bengali, the Hindi, the Urdu. Then Arabic is spoken by many people in the world, Portuguese as well, Russian, Japanese, and French. As you realize, not Hungarian nor Indonesian is in this list, so our languages are not in the top 5. So these languages are, as we call, lingua francas. So many people speak it, and if you learn it, you can join a huge community. So how the languages are distributed in different continents? What do you think? So you have Asia. Try to guess. So there is altogether, it should be 100%. You can take your pen and paper and think about how many languages in percentages are spoken in Asia. Is it 30%? Is it 20%? 10% in Africa? In Pacific? In the Oceanic area? In America, North and South, and in Europe? So take a few seconds. Try to guess the percentages. And I will tell you that in Asia, there are many languages spoken. 33% of the world languages are spoken in Asia. Then Africa is extremely multilingual. 30% of the world's languages are can be found here. Pacific, 19%. America, 15%. And only 3% of the languages are spoken in Europe. So in that sense, Europe is very monolingual. Why do I say this? And why they are so successful in being monolingual? Because they have these assimilationist policies. So one language, one nation. So they are building nation states, and they don't protect their minorities too much. Let's look at Indonesia, because since most of you are in Indonesia now, so the population of Indonesia, I hope you can see it, is quite huge. And according to yesterday, you have 710 languages spoken or recognized according to Ethnologue. This is the most precise number. So there are Indonesia is extremely multilingual. And you have 19 institutional languages. Institutional means that to some extent it is learned in schools, or it has a written system. You have 75 languages which are developing. It means that it is used for face-to-face communication in different generations, and it also has some kind of literacy. Then vigorous means that it's also used for face-to-face communication, but it doesn't necessarily have a written system. You have 180 of these, and there are 357 languages which are in trouble it means that they are still spoken by a generation, but this generation doesn't transmit, doesn't teach the language, doesn't speak the language with the next generation. So mothers and fathers still speak it, but they don't use it with their children. And you have 79 languages which are in the process of dying. So if we look at the next slide, you will see the status of the languages in Indonesia. You have many endangered languages. So now you are here, many of you. So try to preserve the languages. Try to speak your own language with your future children, with your mates, because your own language is very important. This makes you multilingual. And besides learning English and learning Bahasa Indonesian, your own language makes your identity stronger. And the more languages are in the world, the more diversity. So we don't want a homogeneous word, we want a diverse word. And speaking multiple languages is important. And it also makes you smarter. You have this some languages which status is stable, and some institutional languages. Okay, so now we'll talk about the status of languages in different societies. Some examples will come from Europe. So as I said, most countries are multilingual in the world because there are many languages spoken in the country. There is one country only which is monolingual. I hope you recognize this country. It's in the middle of the ocean, and it's called Iceland. And Iceland is so isolated that there are no other languages spoken in Iceland, so it is literally monolingual. But as I said, most countries are multilingual, and usually they have, or most of the countries have one official language, and the other languages have some status. So, for example, the Netherlands is officially monolingual. Dutch is the official language, but it doesn't mean there are no other languages spoken. They have the Frisian community who try to preserve their language. There are different dialects spoken in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands have a big problem with English because in most universities the majors are only taught in English, so there is no Dutch scientific language. They are trying to protect it, but they have so many international students that they only teach in English, so they are fighting to preserve actually their official language, which is Dutch, in the scientific domain, in the education domain. In France is the same. They only have French as the official language, and they have this very long history of protecting French against English. So they don't want any influence from the English language. They have an academy with 44 people whose job is to protect the French language with it, which I think is quite ridiculous, since they have lots of minorities, for example, the Basques and others, who still want some protection. Italy is also official. There is one official language, which is the Italian, but they also have some other dialects and some other languages. Then in Europe, there are some languages. There are some countries where there are more than one official language. For example, in Switzerland, there is German, French, Italian, Romance. So there are officially four languages recognized, and they are spoken in different parts of the country, which makes this country monolingual, because if you are allowed to speak your own language, then you are not going to learn the other one. So it's interesting. And there are many countries with multiple official or non-official languages. This is India, and these are the official languages. There are many, many official languages in India, but interestingly, most people in India speak English as well. So they understand that it's very important to learn English to get more successful in life, or to get into some business to get more money. And this is China. Here there is one official language, which is Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, but they have many non-official languages. You can see the different colors indicate different languages or different varieties, and the varieties sometimes are so different that two Chinese speaking to each other will not understand each other because they speak different dialects of Chinese. And this is your country. This is the linguistic map of Indonesia. And this is what you should preserve. So you have 710 languages, and they are spoken in different regions. So I hope many of you will become sociolinguists and will work maybe for ethnologue to preserve the languages. According to the constitution of Indonesia, you have one official language, which is the Indonesian language, the Bahasa Indonesian language, but you also protect other languages. The constitution says that regional languages which are well preserved by people, such as the Javanese, Sundanese, Madurese, and other languages, will be respected and preserved by the state, since these languages are also part of the Indonesian culture. Okay, so I think there is a key sentence here. I don't know how much the country implements this, but it says which are well preserved by the people. So it only depends on the speakers of the language, how much they preserve the language, that the country will protect it. So if you start elaborating your language, your own variety, then it will be protected and preserved, respected by the state, which is an important thing. So we saw that the world is very multilingual. Most countries include many languages, and you can ask, if people in the world speak so many languages, how do they understand each other? They use lingua francas. Lingua francas are languages that many people learn in order to connect to each other. If you think about history and ancient Greece, then in ancient Greece, there was the Greek language. So if you wanted to sell something or to get married to another village or to make connections with other people, you had to learn Greek. So Greek was the lingua franca. Then it was in the history, there was the Roman period. And in the Roman period, you had to learn Latin to become a respected citizen. If you didn't speak Latin, then you were a pagan. You were not accepted. Nowadays, there are more than one lingua francas in different parts of the world. Of course, in the Russian world and in the post-Russian world, like even in Ukraine, the Russian language is the lingua franca. In the Arab world, like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, other countries, it's the Arab language. Then there is the Chinese language, but it only connects Chinese people. There is the Portuguese language, which is spoken in some countries. And you can see those green places. This is English. So English is very important because this is the lingua franca in many places. Okay, and languages are not equal in the world. So if you speak 3 languages and those 3 languages do not belong to this list, then you probably will not have any privileges. So it's very important that in the list of the languages you speak, you have English, because that's the most important and even economically crucial language. In this slide, you can see the hierarchy of the languages. And in all periods of the history, there is one hypercentral language. In the past, it was the Greek, later it was Latin, later it was German, and nowadays it is English. So if you in every domain of life, education, business, entertainment, politics, everywhere. If you want to be successful, you have to learn the hypercentral language, which is a language taught in many countries of the world. Then there are some supercentral languages. These are the lingua francas that I mentioned in the previous slides. There are some central languages which are also learned by other nations. And most languages, most languages in the world are peripheral or local languages, and 89% of the world's languages belong here. So you can see that English really dominates. So it's actually very important to learn English. And it's very beneficial to learn English because at the end of the presentation, I will show you how it makes you smarter, but it also makes you more successful, because you will have access to international communication. This is how we get to know each other, because we share a language, which is English, and this is how we communicate with each other. This is how I could change my country. This is how I moved from Ukraine to Hungary, and then later did my PhD, became a doctor, and this is how I applied to different scholarships. So I spent several months in Ireland. I was in Slovakia for 1 year. I was in the Netherlands for a couple of weeks, then in Norway, in Estonia, in Chicago at a conference. So English really gives you access to international communication, international connections, and it opens doors and windows. So you can just talk to people and get friends, and people are usually open. It is the language of business. So if you decide after doing your master's that you don't want to be part of the education domain, then you go to an international corporation. English will be the language of the communication. So it's important if you want to make money. You have access to entertainment through English. I'm sure that you all watch movies and series, and most of these are available only in English. So it's a good way of motivating students. And of course, it gives you access to knowledge. If you want to write an article, if you want to learn more about, for example, the pandemic or the vaccines, or how successful or protective these vaccines are, then the knowledge will be in English. Otherwise, you can only read your own country's news, which often limits you. So learn English. Okay, going back to sociolinguistics, I would also like to share some important terms that are crucial in sociolinguistics. Probably you had this in your course already, so sorry if I repeat them, but I think it's important to mention them. One of them is the phenomena that is called diglossia. Diglossia is the phenomena when you have two varieties of the language spoken in the community. One is a high variety and the other one is a low variety. For example, in the Arab countries, they have the classical Arabic and the Arabic varieties. So they have Algerian variety, they have Tunisian variety, but they all speak the high variety of the Arab. So this is the situation which is called diglossia. Then we already mentioned minority languages. Many languages in the world are in minority situation. For example, Hungarian. Hungarian is the majority language in Hungary, but it's a minority language in Ukraine. Or there are minority languages which do not have a country. For example, there is the Basque country, the Basque language, and there is no such thing as the Basque country. It is spoken in Spain and France, but they do not have a country. They only exist as minority languages. Okay. Language maintenance is again another important term, and I would like all of you to remember this. This is how you maintain your own language, and it adds to your identity preservation. For example, Indonesians here in Hungary maintain their own language. They use it among themselves, and this is how they preserve the language. But at the same time, they try to teach their children Hungarian and English as well. And this is how they make them multilingual. There is such term as language death. It's a phenomena when a language dies, no one speaks them anymore. This is what happened to the Gaelic Scottish, for example. So when and this is what's happening to many Indonesian varieties when parents speak it, but they don't use it with their children, then it leads to language death. But these languages can be revived, and there is one thing which is called language revival. This is what happened to Irish. Irish was dying in Ireland, and at some point they decided to make it an official language. It is taught in school and spoken by many people. Okay, and finally, the final point in my talk will be the relationship between language and culture. Culture is a crucial point in society, and there are differences between nations in terms of like how we use language. Like if you think about Italians, they use lots of hand gestures, while I think Indonesians do not. Hungarians do not. English people, they don't use lots of hand gestures. So this is how you stand closer or more distant from each other. So how you position yourself to each other, and also how you see the word. So the question of whether the language you speak defines how you see the word. So the question of whether Indonesians see the word differently compared to Hungarians. And this brings us to the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Probably you are familiar with this, which has two parts: linguistic determinism and linguistic relativity. Linguistic determinism states that language determines thought. So if you are an Indonesian, and you speak Indonesian, you cannot think about all the issues that your language cannot express. For example, there is for example, if you are in the woods, in the forest, and there is this moment when the sun comes through the woods, the trees. In Hungarian, we do not have a word for this. So the sun comes through the trees. In Indonesian, probably you do not have a word for this, but in Japanese, they have a word for this. And the language determinism says that if the Japanese people have a term for this, they can think about this, but we can't. So it's quite unbelievable. The other one is linguistic relativity. And according to the weak version of this hypothesis, language influences thinking and how we perceive the word. And of course, the more languages you speak, your thinking is influenced even more. So why Sapir and Dwarf developed this hypothesis? Their evidence come from cross-cultural comparisons. They studied Native American cultures, but actually Dwarf was also an insurance investigator, and his examples also come from these days. And one of the famous examples of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is the Inuits. These are Inuits, Eskimos, who use several terms for snow. So they have a word for snowflake, to snow, and to snow, frost, bifrost, fine snow, drifting snow for snow, and more. So they have lots of terms for different types of snow. And according to Sapir and Dwarf, it means that they can see more types of snow than people who have less words. But There were some Inuit languages found where only a limited number of terms were used to refer to snow. Still, they live in the same environment. For example, Boas very early in 1911 reported a group of Inuits who used only four terms for snow. So does it mean that one Inuit can see more types of snow than the other Inuit? That's very improbable. That's very unlikely. But the theory really motivated researchers to test the hypothesis, the strong view that language determines what you see, and the test, the weaker view that language influences thought. And the most domains that were used to study the issue was the color terms, the counting, and others. And here I will only mention the color terms. So according to the strong view, if your language doesn't include a word for a color, you don't see the color. So if your language didn't have separate names for these colors, would you see them the same way? Because we know that there are some languages where they only use 2 or 3 words for colors. Does it mean they don't see the difference? So we have in English and in Hungarian, we have separate words for all these colors, but in some languages, they only have dark and they only have light colors. So it was tested. We know that there are some languages which have only 2 colors, but most countries or most languages have 11 specific colors. So Heder and later Roche, 1973, went to study a Dani tribe in New Guinea, which use only 2 color terms. So they use mili to refer to cool or dark shades. So they use mili for blue, for green and black, and they use mola for red, yellow, and white. And they were asked to name or to name the colors. They were also asked whether they see the difference between all these colors. According to the results, they had no difficulty recognizing these colors that were from an initial presentation from among distractors, even though they had no names for colors. So which means they could see the difference, but they couldn't name them. So the strong view of the Dwarf's hypothesis couldn't be supported. I said that cultures also differ in politeness, and this is where Diana Octavia's research comes in. Diana studied different groups of international students in terms of how they make requests, whether one nation is more polite than the other. And she studied them in English. And the study was the following. So each individual, you can also try it on yourself, were presented with a situation and they were asked to react to the situation. For example, you are waiting in line at the checkout to pay for a bottle of milk. You are late for an important meeting. There is one man in front of you with a shopping trolley full of groceries. What do you say to the man in front of you? Do you ask him to give you priority, or you don't actually? According to the results, Octavia 2018, she showed that Indonesians are very indirect in their requests, which means that they use lots of polite terms and they do not even express what they want. They give you hints only because they are so respectful. Jordanians are also quite respectful and polite, while Russians and Hungarians are more direct. And from this research, it was shown that Pakistani speakers were the most direct and the less polite participants, which is and they used many direct requests. So this brings us to the end of the presentation. And as I said, at the end of the presentation, I will share you some information about why it is important to speak your own dialect, Javanese, Bungones, etc., the standard language, Bahasa Indonesian, and to learn English. Because if you speak more languages, you will become smarter, healthier, and more successful. And this comes from research. So we know from research that bilingual children internalize negative states and externalize aggression less frequently. So bilingual children are calmer. Bilinguals have an increased executive function and decision-making abilities. It means that if you speak more languages, you make decisions faster. And why it is important? It was proven that if you make decisions faster, you will be more successful later in life. So bilinguals do that. There are such conditions as Alzheimer's. Probably you are familiar. It usually affects old people who forget things, and their condition gets worse and worse, and dementia. If you speak more than one language, then you are actually protected against Alzheimer and dementia. It will come later. So if you have some peers who speak only one language, then it is more likely they will be demented or get Alzheimer's earlier than you. If you already speak 2 or 3 languages, future languages will be easier to learn. So if you learn English now, you can learn other languages later easier, like Hungarian, for example. And bilinguals earn on average $7,000 more than their monolingual peers. Of course, if you apply for a job and you speak English and you speak other languages, then you have an advantage and you will get a higher salary. So you have many neurological benefits. For example, bilinguals can focus more. Why? Because we keep many languages in our mind. Now I keep Hungarian, I keep English, and I keep some Ukrainian in my mind. And I have to focus to use English only with you, not to switch to Hungarian or other languages. So because bilinguals do that all the time, their focus is better. They have better memory. They are better at doing different tasks at the same time, multitasking. They are nicer. They have more empathy. As I said, they are protected against Alzheimer, and dementia also comes later, which was proven by several studies. So my last slide is learn languages and enjoy the benefits of your bilingual brain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the nice explanation about the language and society, and then also about the language maintenance. And we were surprised that you have a lot of knowledge about Indonesian language and what happened in Indonesian with the languages. And I'm sure some of us doesn't know it.
Yes, I did some research because I think that if you bring the topic closer to the people, then it's more interesting. So, for example, for the students, it's probably not interesting what's happening in Hungary, Norway, or Italy, but it's important what's happening in your own country and to reflect on that. And now you have to be, proud to speak your own dialects. Is it Bungones?
Bungones.
Bungones.
Yes, Bungones. Yeah.
And does it have a written form?
Yes, we have written form, but we don't use it as a special language because we only use Indonesian as the official language.
Mm-hmm.
So we use it just for daily.
Yeah, it's very important to use it for other domains. For example, you can write blogs or use it somewhere because this is how you preserve the language. So if you ever decide to write a blog, then do it in your own language.
Yeah, we'll try. Okay, thank you so much for this very nice lecture. Maybe we have a lot of questions from the participants here.
Okay.
So we will give time for our participants to ask to Professor Sylvia. If you okay, for those who want to ask question, you may raise your hand and then we will unmute or we will activate your microphone. Okay, here I can hear something like from my colleagues. She wants to ask from Miss Winda Trisnawati. Unmute. Sorry, Radhi.
Okay, thank you, Miss Dian. Okay, Prof. Sylvia. Okay, okay. I have a little nervous because, yeah, yes, it's an honor for me. It's pleasure because, yeah, it's from the expert. Okay, Miss Sylvia, I want to ask you about. Could you explain that mm, when someone lose the identity because language, for example, maybe for example, when someone born and her mother tongue is Javanese. And then after she got to school, he used Bungones, Javanese from Bungones. And then after she got college and get a job and until married life, he had Minangis. So Javanese, Bungones, and Minangis. And many people around her, a new friend, yeah, uh, she likes Minangis people, not Japanese again, because he lose identity because of the language. Because every day he use Minangis, and Minangis. Yeah, could you explain to me about the phenomena of lose the identity because of the language?
Okay.
Or maybe the society influence the language, or the language influence the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Prof. Sylvia.
Yeah, thank you. This was a very, very good question because many of us abandon the language that we used to speak when we were children, for example, and then later in your life you start learning and using other languages. No, you don't actually lose the identity. Identity is very complex. So identity is not only language, it's also culture, or being a woman, being a mother, being a teacher, being a friend, being a partner, etc., etc. So language is one part of your identity. Yeah. So, for example, the native language could be Javanese.
Yeah.
That was closely connected to the identity, but when you acquired the next language, which was Bungonese, then that changed your identity. You still had an identity, but it was defined by another language. I'm sure you still preserved all the cultural values that the Javanese gave you, but you didn't use the language any longer. Yeah. So your identity is still there, but is defined by another language. Now the Minangis. So now the Minangis is the language that helps you to define your identity, and you have no problem until you have some conflict in yourself.
Yeah.
Like what I am or how. And if you have that, it's very important to go back to the previous languages to learn or to revive your Javanese and your Portuguese.
Yeah.
Because you will have some identity problems. So it's not a problem if you speak another language at a later period in your life because your identity can still be rich.
Yeah, it's happened to me.
Yeah, I guess. And how do you feel?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm Minangese, but in fact, I'm Japanese.
Yes, you are complex because I say that, yes, I am Hungarian, but that's not true because I was born in Ukraine. So I am a Hungarian from Ukraine with an international experience because English gave it to me. So you are all of this. You are your identity is everything that you decided to build into your identity.
Yeah.
For example, if you don't like, I don't like sausages in Hungary, that will not be part of my cultural values. So you decide.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Kesanam, Stephen. Miss Lumpia.
Oh my God, I miss this language. Well, thank you very much for Professor Sylvia and Miss Winda Trisnawati for the question and answer. So here we have also Mulia Kasmanto, who wants to ask to our professor now.
Hi, Mulia.
Okay, good afternoon, Professor. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
My name is Mulia Kasmanto. I'm from the 5th semester of STKIP Muhammadiyah Muarabungo. Here I have a question about one issue. What do you think about this issue? The issue is the social status of some really influence the language, right? So what do you think about that? Like, if I say cleaning service, talk with the boss, it's so really different. What do you think about this issue? Why we don't make same?
Can you repeat again?
What do you think about, like, if I say, like, sorry to say, a maid talk with the boss at home? Like, it's so really different, right? It's really like we have to really polite. We have to really polite. Now, what do you think about the issue? Have we lose the social how to say, social status to make same to make what's like that when they speak?
Diana, do you know what?
Yeah, maybe here he wants to ask like there are some languages, right? Some words that you want to say, like for example, like maid and cleaning service. So we when you choose word, it reflects your social status or your
Yeah, yes. No, yeah.
style. Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, sorry, Mulia. Yeah, I think this is an issue that you can read in textbooks, but more and more it's getting these different statuses when expressed by language is disappearing. For example, when I'm giving this lecture now, I am not polite all the time. I don't say good afternoon, blah, blah. We don't say madam, etc. So we say hi everyone, right? So these borders, I think they are really disappearing. But I think it depends on the country itself, how the language reflects or how the words reflect the social status. For example, here in Hungary, if you swear a lot, if you use bad language, it shows your social status. But if you do the same in Ireland, for example, the Irish people use lots of bad language even at university, even if they have high social class. So I don't know about Indonesia, but probably you have some words that show your social class
Okay,
or social status. Yeah, and if you understand what language what language is used in different social classes, then you can also learn that kind of language to show a status that you actually don't have.
Oh my God. So I pretend to have this.
To pretend to have this, yeah.
Okay. That's nice.
Very, very good question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for the question and an answer from Professor Sylvia. And then here there is someone who texted me. She wants to ask you, but maybe she feels shy. So maybe I will call her directly. So Weni Aprilia. No, sorry, Weni Aprian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see her.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Diana, and good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
I'm gonna ask. Maybe it's a little bit funny. I just want to know more. Why English chosen be international language? There are so many language in the world, and then why English chosen be international language? Thank
Yes.
you, Professor.
One of the best questions. Thank you very much. It's very, very relevant. So English became the language, the lingua franca, because, as you know, in the colonial period, when some countries dominated others, for example, I think Indonesia was a colony of the Netherlands, right? Am I right? So Indonesia was the colony of the Netherlands, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah. So in that period, the Great Britain had many islands, had many countries under their power, and wherever they had a colony, English was spoken. So English spread easily in these countries, and because they had a huge political power, and on the top of that they have a huge economic power, then everyone learned English. And it's important to see that English is not the lingua franca everywhere. If you look at the Soviet Union, probably you heard about it. It was led by Russia. So there, the lingua franca is Russian because Russia and Putin, they have a huge economic and political power. So everyone wants to learn Russian. But here in Europe and in many other parts of the world, India, Indonesia, English is now the lingua franca, and not because they wanted to spread it. It spread it because there was a huge economic and political power of Britain, and later America, of course. Now, if you look at the US, it's a huge political and economic power, so everyone wants to learn English. And if you look at Americans and if you look at British people, they are not bilingual. They are monolingual because they don't have to learn the lingua franca, it's their mother tongue, so they don't learn other languages, and they don't have the benefits of being a bilingual. So you can say that you are smarter than.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Or at least you have more benefits.
Okay. So maybe next question. We will go to the next question directly. Oh yeah, Rizkuna Muslim.
Okay. Before, thanks to Miss Dian. And hello, Miss Sylvia Balti.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And today I want to ask something that why we can be like another person when we speak in another language. I mean like when we speak, when for example me, when I speak in Bungo and when I speak in Indonesian, it will makes me be different person. I mean like my personality will be different. I mean when I speak in Bungo, I like something like a different person when I speak in Indonesian. Why you can be like that, Miss?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very, very good question again, because we all experience this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I do agree.
So first of all, the language has its own characteristics. So there are things that are easier to say in another language than in your first language. For example, my main research area is language attrition. So language attrition means that you move to another country as a Hungarian and you learn another language, and that will be your stronger language. So many participants say that by acquiring a new language, by learning a new language, it was easier for them to express their emotions. Because if you are a German native speaker, it's very difficult to say "I love you." But if you learn French or if you learn English, it's easier to say "I love you" because it's very accepted in the language itself. So first, there is the characteristics of the language, and you as a person, as a Tuna Muslim, you decide which language identify yourself with and what each language means to you. Are you more intimate in one language or are you more emotional in the other language? That's your choice. For many people, their first language is the most emotional language, but for other people, it will be the second language. So you do not really become a different person. You have a different kind of life because of the language and because you attach different values to each languages. So it's not like schizophrenia. You don't have a split personality, but so you speak differently because the languages are different. And you want to speak differently. Like many people say, or many people report that it's easier for them to use bad language in English than in the first language. So it's easier for them to say that four-letter word in English than in their own language, because you hear it in movies, in series, everywhere, in music. So, yeah, this is my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation for this, Mona. And here we have Masito. Time is yours.
Hello, Prof.
Hello.
Okay, my name is Masito. As a student, I think English is little hard for me. So, would you like to give me some advice to improve my English? Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to. We are all different. So first of all, sit down and think about what you like to do. If you like to read, then read a lot in English. If you don't like to read, if you prefer to watch movies and series, then watch a lot of movies and series. And also decide what's important for you. Is it the vocabulary that you want to improve? Then reading and watching movies, it will be important. If it's the pronunciation, then you can choose someone as a role model and watch videos with them. If it's Cameron Diaz or Sandra Bullock or I don't know, then watch lots of speeches by them and try to imitate, try to mimic. We have a student who has beautiful British accent because he chose one role model, like, I don't know, you can choose even Justin Bieber, one role model, and then try to mimic. And then at some point you will realize that you speak like him or you speak like her. So if it's pronunciation, then try to mimic. If you want to enrich your vocabulary, to learn more words, then reading is very, very important. For example, I remember when I was learning English and I finished university and my English was not very good. So I wanted to be more fluent and I started to read Harry Potter, all the 8 books in English. And then my English became just very, very fluent because I had a huge vocabulary. So I didn't have to think about the next word because it was there. So Masito, sit down and think about what you like. If you like music, watch music. If you like series or movies or books, then do that. And it's more motivating because grammar, let's face it, not interesting for everyone.
Okay, thank you, bro.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, grammar. Yeah, okay. We will go to the next participant who will ask. Mr. Abdullah.
Saya Miss Dia.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Surya Baji. Hello.
Hi.
My name is Abdullah. I am lecturer civic education. Nanti Miss Diana terjemahkan juga ya bahasa Indonesia.
Oke.
Waktu saya sering menonton di TV, watching in TV, Hungaria, country Budapest ya, Dr. Sylvia. Oke. Pertanyaan saya, coba minta bantuan dari Dr. Sylvia untuk berikan motivasi kepada mahasiswa atau mahasiswi STK Muhammadiyah Merebungo, bagaimana nantinya supaya mereka lebih bersemangat lagi untuk belajar, mengembangkan bakatnya tentunya dalam bidang bahasa Inggris. Kemudian Dr. Sylvia ini kan dari University of Pannonia. Bagaimana seandainya nanti ada kerjasama antara University of Pannonia dengan STK Muhammadiyah Merebungo? Oke lah, kalau sekarang masih pandemi COVID-19, jadi kita tidak bisa berjumpa secara langsung. Akan tetapi jika misalnya suatu saat nanti sudah normal kembali, misalnya ada kerjasama, kalau bisa Dr. Sylvia-nya ke Indonesia atau mahasiswanya ke Hungaria, mahasiswa STK yang pendidikan bahasa Inggris ya. Ya, itu saja. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Abdullah. Well, Professor, if you don't mind, I would like to translate to help him. Actually, he could speak English, but he feels shy, so because he feels like his English is not very fluent. See, and then he just asked like Budapest. He learned little bit about Hungary and then Budapest and some cities in Hungary, and he is very interested with this guest lecture because we are invited you here, and then he asked you if you don't mind to motivate our students to learn more English and then to develop their skill by language, and then also maybe one day your university, and it's mine as well. The University of Pannonia and our university, like STK Muhammadiyah Merebungo, will have like cooperation. Cooperation maybe in learning and teaching. Like maybe we can invite you to come here, or our students will come there. Will go there. Sorry, and then maybe because this is pandemic, but we can think and then we can make this plan after pandemic. What do you think?
I'm honored. Thank you very much. And, one thing that always speak English, if you know even a little, don't be shy, just speak it. This comes from also experience. So speak. All of us are non-native speakers. So I make lots of mistakes and I don't care because as far as people understand me, it's good. So Diana can say that at the University of Pannonia in Veszprém, in my university, most professors are not native English speakers. So we make mistakes, but as far as students understand us, it's good to use English. And I'm happy that you learned some facts about Hungary. I hope you will come to our country at some point. We have some Indonesian students. And I think this cooperation could be possible because we have an English teacher training program here at the university. And even the students could practice in your university, or our professors could give lectures, because it's very important to them to give classes. And many of them are very advanced. So if you are interested, we can talk about it. It would be really nice. And to go there as well. Indonesia is my dream country. It's so beautiful. I watched so many documentaries about Indonesia and yeah, Papua New Guinea and others. It's just beautiful.
Thank you very much, sir.
And yes, I would like to motivate you to learn English, and maybe you should find someone to talk to. The internet is so big and so open. So if you want to improve your English, besides watching movies, listening to music, and reading, you could also find some groups where you can talk to people in English. That's probably the most motivating, because I know that even here in Hungary, if they have an English class, they will talk to each other in Hungarian. It's difficult to motivate them to use English only. But for example, to me, you can only use English. So maybe in the next semester, I can give you some English class, conversational classes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. How is it, Abdullah? Okay.
Oke.
Nggak perlu ditranslate kan? Ngerti ya?
Bahasa Inggris tapi ngerti kalau orang ngomong bahasa Inggris.
That's great. Yeah, just try to speak it. You understand it, and then I'm sure you can speak it. Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Sylvia. We will think about this. This is very interesting, yeah, interesting topic and an issue, and then I will tell you about my planning as well later. Okay. Now we are going to give the time to Wahyu Muna Royhan for asking question.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, maybe this is the last question.
Okay.
For our session today. Okay, Wahyu Muna Royhan, time is yours.
Okay. So firstly, I'm very happy to be able to join this webinar and especially listen to material presented by Professor Sophia. And in this era we have bad issues with insecurities. And what I want to ask is about how to be confident to speak English, even though that English is not our mother language. And does not very focus about grammar before want to speak in public or with foreign.
So thank you very much. I can share you some of my experiences that when you start speaking English, they will not judge you. The people want to understand you. And this is their only goal. They don't care about grammar. They don't care about vocabulary. The only thing they want is to understand you. So whenever you talk to me, like I understood all of you because you used English and you wanted to convey the message, the meaning. So this is how you should be confident. Don't think about to be judged, but think about to be understood. So think about communication. You want to say something, you have this vocabulary, you have this grammar, and you try your best. And you will improve later, but at this time, this is your best ability. And I think people will definitely understand you. People in Europe, or I think in the world, are very nice. Even people in the USA are very nice, and they don't judge you. They want to understand you, and they use very bad grammar. We have a student from the US, and sometimes I ask questions about the grammar, and he's got no clue because in Jamaican English, for example, they don't have a difference between the third person singular and the other person. So they simply say she don't, he don't, and they don't say she doesn't, he doesn't. And that's something you can understand what they want to say. So I think grammar is overrated, and grammar shouldn't be too important. I think communication is the most important, and grammar will come later. Like present perfect, I still don't understand what present perfect is, but I use it because I learned it from communication. So this is where have you ever been to Australia. Oh, this is present perfect. Okay, this is the situation or the communication context in which I use present perfect. Yeah. So just speak. And try to find situations where you can use it.
Thank you, Miss.
Probably you can find some programs. I don't know. Your teachers can help you to find programs where you find the peers in the US or somewhere. They can help you to talk.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Cynthia. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, there are some researches that prove that grammar comes later. So just speak and then practice without any insecure or uncertainty. Am I right?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is it's a very pleasure for us to have you here, and then this day is very nice, and then we have very nice session to have you and then to listen the explanation and then some researches, and then after some result, and then I can see my name there. Okay, and then thank you very much for your sharing, and then but before I close this section, maybe if you don't mind, I would like to have a photo session with you and then all participants.
Okay.
Okay, so all participants, please open your video camera so we will have a picture of you, not only for your names.
And thank you very much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed this talk. You know, probably Professor Diana Octavia told you that I thought it was yesterday. So yesterday at 10 o'clock, I was sitting in front of my computer, full makeup, full hair, and waiting for everyone to turn up. And then I called her and she said, "Oh, Professor, it's tomorrow." This is the second time I'm here for you, actually.
Well, this is very nice. You know, we are so happy that you are excited to have this class. Okay, can we take a picture, Pak Rani? Okay. Or maybe we will have like a picture for the first slide first. Yes? Okay. Keep smile and cheer up. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next slide. Okay, next slide. 1, 2, 3. And then the next slide. Is this the last slide? Yeah. Then the last slide. 1, 2, 3. Well, thank you very much, Professor. Actually, we would like to have like more time with you because I think like my colleagues and then also all participants from this our class have a lot of questions. They have more questions to ask, but
okay.
This is about the time.
We can meet another time.
Yeah, we can meet. And then I really thank to you because you give us like motivation, especially for our students to have more languages, to learn more languages, to be more confidence to speak. And I hope we can meet you in another occasion.
Yeah, I am open.
Yes, especially in offline, yeah?
Yeah, I hope. But also online, that's also fine. Like, yeah, vaccination is very successful here in Hungary, so hopefully this will be over soon and
really
we'll see each other.
So it means like I will fly there soon.
Yes. Hopefully to give a lecture here.
Yeah, thank you. No, actually I was selected to have a conference there, alumni conference.
Yeah, there will be the conference.
Not last year, but it postponed because of this pandemic. And then until now, I don't get any information about it. But if it is successful, I mean, like the vaccine is successful, it means there is a hope for me now.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay. I guess. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and then for your sharing. See you in another occasion.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice evening, is it?
Yes, it is evening now. It is.
I will go to have my lunch.
Oh, enjoy your meal. You eat pajak. Estimation.
Thank you, Prof. Sylvia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank
Oke,
you, Prof.
terima kasih semuanya. Thank you for the participants. I hope you enjoy the class, and then I close this section. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Bye bye, Prof. Thank you, Miss Diana.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys. Great.
Yeah.
PTI.
Ya semuanya, PTI, PGSD, PJKR, sebagainya.
Silakan. Boleh keluar. Boleh keluar. Belum bisa move on ya? Nggak ada yang mau keluar dari Zoom.
Oh my God.
Satu nih. Ada lagi.
Masih ada 35 lagi.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have no vegetarian.
لا فتحت فكرت باين ما حسيت وجهي ندرك فيه اخذتي معهم صورة انت؟ ما نصورش بيتك لانك انت ماكش في السكيل
Which one?
يا ديانا اكيد هي اللي شو كيفاش يطلع لي تعالي.
Hey girls, I can hear you if this time.
يطلع لك انت. يمكن ديانا تحكي شفتي
نحكي مع ديانا.
Anna, Ibtisam, thank you very much, girls.
Hi, Dee.
Hi.
How are you? It was fabulous.
Really, thank you. Thank you for
happy to see you, Dee.
Yeah, with the Professor Sylvia also.
Yes, I hope Professor Judith will join us later.
May I hear?
Oh, sorry.
I can't hear. Okay.
Ibtisam, you are so selfish.
I want to put in this.
Okay, are you in flat or?
Sorry?
Are you in flat?
Yeah, we are in the flat.
Yeah, in the flat.
We didn't go out. We waited for the lecture to start.
Oh my God!
We attended it also. It was a fabulous one, as usual.
And thank you for the certificates. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh yes, I will. Soon we will have another class. If you just pray for me, and then I will hold another class, and then you should join again, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Whenever you have a class, just send us. We will join it for sure.
See, our head of department said that maybe one day you girls will be the speaker.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Winda.
Why don't you try? Why don't you say it directly?
Okay. What can I say? Miss, what?
Ibtisam and Anna.
Anna, Ibtisam and Anna. Okay, Miss Ibtisam and Anna. Hopefully, maybe one day we can you can come to Indonesia and come to our campus, and then you give the lecture, or maybe when the pandemic still go away from the world. So
then I will get married. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the nice invitation. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then when I will get married, as you promised, yeah.
We are waiting for your marriage.
Waiting for your marriage. We're waiting.
Okay. Girls, how is it? Everything there? Is it nice? Is it fine there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
We can hear you
So,
right now.
Yeah. But okay, come on.
they want to say something.
No. No. There is my friend in.
Oh, okay. So yes, it is like very pleasure for us to have you here. You know.
Thank you so much.
We are
Okay.
honored. We hope so.
Yeah, Miss Anna and Miss Ibtisan. I'm sorry if I have wrong how to pronounce your names, but hopefully maybe for the next term, next semester, you can give the lecture for our students here. Maybe for virtual class, it's okay. Hopefully you don't mind to give the lecture.
Yes, sir. They will finish their PhD soon, yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So, and hope to see you here also, Dee, again.
Oh my God, I will.
Yeah.
Take me, please.
Come for your PhD.
Yeah. As you know. The reason.
Inshallah. Wish you all the best. It was a
Thank you.
successful lecture and we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And we will be waiting for your next webinars or lectures, okay?
Yes. Everything was perfect. Congratulations, Dee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Say hi to Professor Yudi. And then Professor Iltiko.
Yeah.
And you know, right? Next semester, I'm going to teach like multiculturalism.
Sorry, I beg you my pardon.
Multiculturalism.
Yeah, multiculturalism. Okay.
So maybe it will be the right time to invite you girls there to have discussion.
Yeah.
And also Professor Iltiko.